Welcome, everyone. This is Up Your Ranked FPL. We are your hosts. I'm AC. That's Bri, bringing you another episode, a double actually, this time around. Game Week 17 review, Game Week 18 preview. FPL games coming quick and fast. Bri, my guy, Wagwan.
Yo, man, crazy. It's that time of year. You're getting games what feels like every single day. I know it's tough on the players, but it's great for us as managers. Quick decisions, get quick rewards. I love it. I'm excited about it, man. How you feeling about the holiday period so far?
Well, first of all, holiday period has been chill, definitely a little relaxing, love it. But from an FPL perspective, I wish I had more time to see the games. I didn't get to watch all of the games. There were some exciting results. I love the fact that FPL is back.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. I'm definitely with you there. With that, you want to jump into the team? Let's see how things got on. How do we do this game week?
Man, this game week surprisingly went a little better than I thought. Loving the fact that I finally saw a green arrow. 97 points. 97 points on the game week. Love it. If there's one thing that I really need to get off of my chest about the game week for me, and it might be the same for you, that binary, man, he's either going to give you a 0, a 1, or some type of double-digit haul. Mr. Binary himself. Reece James. Why did I fall for the trap? I like the attractive price point at only 5.8 and what he could potentially do with the run of fixtures that they have. And my guy is going to be out until at least February. What an absolute waste. Why do I fall? Why do we fall for something like that? Honestly, I just got to get that off my chest. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, man. Listen, man, it's very disappointing. We all fell for the trap. A bunch of managers. I feel like he was in almost everyone's team. But hey, I think as a Chelsea fan, we got to put the injury prone tag on this dude, man. It's getting a little bit concerning. They rushed him back. I wouldn't even say rushed him back, but it didn't feel like he needed to start this game. I know that's what we all wanted as managers, but with how the season is chalking up, sit him down for the rest of the season, man. Get him healthy. I don't want to see him kick a ball until like April. Honestly, March, April. Get him ready for next season. Sit him down for the season. He's definitely not touching my team. I can tell you that from now.
Ever again.
From now, he's done in my team. He's done in my team.
Outside of him, to be honest with you, I loved it. I love the game week. There was a little bit of a surprise. I didn't expect Cancelo to not start the game. There wasn't any indicator to me, or at least anything that I saw, that made me worried about him starting. Whether or not he started, it wouldn't have made a difference. I'm not sure if it would have made a difference because Man City didn't end up keeping a clean sheet anyway. So is it possible that he could have been on the pitch against Leeds? Maybe. So the fact that they conceded, I'm not too upset at that. Plus, most managers have him. He's over 50% ownership, or something of that nature. It makes me think whether or not I'm really going to keep him moving forward, just something to kind of contemplate. But outside of that, all the players who I ended up bringing into my team, I brought in Kepa. I'm not going to lie, after having some discussions with you, thinking about it, I said to myself, I think they could keep a clean sheet in these next 2 games. I think it's worth it. I took the gamble, and I'm very happy about that. I also took the gamble on Rashford, but it wasn't just Rashford who I took the gamble on. I think a lot of managers who did bring in Rashford, 14 points, excellent. Martial. We didn't really talk about him. Well, I didn't talk about him.
Yeah.
I was able to afford him at 6.7. I said to myself, you know what? He's going to be my punt because Mitrovic wasn't supposed to play. I don't like how FPL, but these flags, they're never accurate. I don't understand how they're flagging some of these players. He came in and he had a whopping, 15 points on the game week? That was amazing. Yeah. And I had 0.1 in the bank. And the only reason why I didn't bring him in is because I didn't think he was going to play. I had the 0.1 in the bank for him. He's already gone up in price. But I went against KDB and I brought in Salah. And the reason why I went against KDB and brought in Salah is only because I was actually afraid of the Chelsea, Man U, Tottenham run. And I didn't want to be tied up with 3 City players. So that's what made me go with Salah over KDB. Plus, I would have had to change around maybe I wouldn't have had to change around anything because Salah is a little bit more expensive. But I looked at the Leicester, Brentford, Brighton, and Chelsea, and I said, you know what? Salah, super well rested. Can he be the Salah who we all know he's able of being? And lo and behold, he didn't disappoint. 1 goal, 1 assist, 12 points, 2 bonus points. 97 points. I'm not going to talk about some of the other staples in the teams. Trippier, Almiron, Tony, Haaland with the captain armband on. I guess the only player who really disappointed me on this team was when we talked about Fernandes and whether or not he could be Fernandes that he once was when he first came to the league, and then the full season right after when he was the top leading FPL player. It was too tempting. A game against Nottingham Forest at 9.8 million. I said to myself, it's either him or Saka. I wish I went Saka, but what can you do? I'm still going to hold on to Bruno because they have a game against Wolves and Bournemouth coming up. I mean, let's see. All in all, 97 points. Ain't too mad. What about you, man?
I mean, that's an excellent game week. Anytime, you're close to touching that Centurion mark is always a good game week. And I mean, for you, you were coming off of a run of 4 red arrows. So I think that's a big swing in the right direction. Definitely happy about that. So for my game week, we had a little bit of a mixed bag, couple of missteps. Biggest one to note, listen, man, with the games happening quickly, especially when you got other stuff going on, set your team and leave it alone. Playing around with my wild card, taking people out who I had stapled into the team just to, see how the budget would work with other players who I didn't have any funds tied up in, just left me with mistakes all over the pitch. I played around with. So to sum it up, this was not the team that I initially wanted to even have out from the wild card, but it's where we at, and we're going to have to just work with it, right? Okay. So biggest things to get off my chest outside of Reece James, and you touched on it, it has to be Mitrovic. Mitrovic, like we talked about, was who I wanted in the squad. I had a little bit of a placeholder player in there for him. I was going to wait for news until the last minute. And the placeholder who I had was Wilson. There was no news of Wilson not practicing 2 days before. I don't know how that didn't come up in the press conference. And honestly, injury news has to be one of the most frustrating parts of FPL. Managers lying, withholding the truth. It's just crazy. So Wilson doesn't even play, but that's who I had as the placeholder. And if I knew he wasn't going to play, would I have went with him? Probably not. I probably would have took a gamble on Nketiah, like I'd mentioned before, as kind of my sleeper pick, who did end up bagging anyways. So, hey, some points on the drain there. Overall, the KDB versus Salah misstep in the wild card. Salah is who I wanted. I was just kind of playing around with KDB. See what happens there. I will say from watching that game, though, I still am not in love with Mo's positioning on the pitch, especially when Darwin's on. I just find that he's playing so much more to the touchline than he normally is in seasons past. He used to be a little bit more upfront on the last defender. Now I find that he's like hugging the touchline a lot more, but he's still getting it done. 83 points for honestly what I consider kind of a bad game week. There are just some players that disappointed. Darwin Núñez looks absolutely dreadful. I got to be honest. He does not look anything close to a $80 million striker. He actually looks bad. And if it wasn't for Wilson in the team, I'd be getting him out. But, Wilson's injured and I just can't deal with that. Or maybe Reece James. So overall, not too happy. It's a red arrow. We're continuing to have a little bit of a slip here, if you will, over the last 5 game weeks. Honestly, for us, it hasn't been a good from about game week 12, game week 13. It ain't really been that good for us here on the pod, AC. So we need to be turning things around. I like how you're moving in the right direction, but it is a red arrow for me. Slipping to an overall rank just under 1.2 mil.
I mean, here's something I'm going to say to you. I believe that you made a logical gamble at Darwin, but it was actually, again, your own words after what we saw in the Carabao Cup that said, this guy's not it. He's not doing well. Open misses. But I think he had 3 chances in that game. He could have had a hat trick. He wasn't even hitting the target. He was dragging the ball left. And
I don't get it.
He was right there. Like, the ball is finding him. And if it wasn't for that game, he would have been in my team. That's why I actually ended up taking him out. I'm not sure if I should have kept Tony, considering these allegations about the betting that's going on and whether or not there's going to be a suspension handed down. I don't know where that leaves.
Going to be. There's definitely going to be. I'd be surprised if he finishes the season. Honestly, I'd be very surprised.
So you think it's going to be something rather lengthy?
Yeah, I mean, bro, he was betting on games that he played in for his team to lose. Like, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. That's just crazy.
He actually went up in price. Since scoring the goal. I mean, listen, he got 13 against City, 5 against Tottenham. Those are currently teams that are competing for Champions League spots, and he's bagging against the best teams. So when you see that they have matches against West Ham, who is not doing well, as a matter of fact, they squandered their lead. What a disappointment. As I could have definitely enjoyed some drop points there for top teams. And then they're coming up against Liverpool, who probably won't even keep a clean sheet. But with the Ivan Toney news, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm still waiting to hear how that plays out. But I have to thank you on making me contemplate Darwin. So I bring this all up to say that although you may not have listened to yourself, you're giving valuable information out to the listeners. So
hey, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for, right? That's what we're here for. So that's all good.
Question to you then about the biggest disappointment of game week 17.
The biggest disappointment of game week 17 for me has got to be the Matrix, man. Being rushed back, not being able to play what he didn't even make it to 60 minutes, right? Getting injured again, knee again. It's kind of disappointing. Not only as a Chelsea fan, because I do believe that he is Chelsea's best player. And he's a little bit too young to be having some of these injuries, the types of injuries that he's been having racked up on his body so quickly. Like, at his age, bruh, as a fullback, you want to be like, how the level that I equate him to is like, he could be as good as like a Ashley Cole. Like, he could have a career that is that good. But at his age, Ashley Cole was playing 30 games a season. You know what I mean? There's just no way you're going to be able to develop at the rate that you need to be when you're having these lengthy absences out. And so he's been a massive disappointment. With him, I feel like every time I have him in my team, I get nothing but zeros, ones, zeros, and ones. He might, and I mean might, give you that one big haul that, really gives you that leash to hold on to him. But he's the biggest disappointment for me. Very unhappy with what I'm seeing from him. What about you? What's your biggest disappointment?
I think my biggest disappointment for this particular game week had to be Bruno. I thought Bruno was going to come in and say, look what I did during the World Cup. Now that Ronaldo is not here, I'm going to show you guys why I'm worth every penny, why I am the main guy on this team. And he just didn't do that to me. I did watch the game. He wasn't as involved as I would have wanted him to be. He played at some points a little deeper than I would have wanted him to be from what I was seeing in the match. And he just didn't, he doesn't look like the Bruno that came into the Premier League all those years ago, just a couple of years ago. So for me, he's the biggest disappointment, obviously, because I have him on the team. With that being said, the biggest surprise for you during the game week?
Ooh, biggest surprise for me during the game week. This is gonna be funny. But the biggest surprise for me during the game week, this might not come as a surprise to anybody else, but it has to be Miguel Almiron. Miguel Almiron is a player who, like, I still don't believe in him so much that I actually started him on the bench. The only reason I got Almiron's points was because Wilson was injured. That's how much I don't believe in him. And this run that he's on is just so outlandish. I'm surprised that it's still going. I thought the fire would have been put out. You might remember I was contemplating not even having him in the wild card squad. But he's priced so well that it's impossible to not fit him in the team. You know what I mean? So that's my biggest surprise, that Almiron is still scoring, defying all odds. It's crazy. Maybe this is the player that Newcastle thought that they were getting 2 years ago when he moved from MLS. But man, I never saw this. I just never foresaw this run.
I love it. I have to say that the biggest surprise for me, believe it or not, it has to be a man from your team. I'm surprised Havertz not only bagged a goal, but bagged an assist, and that managers actually had him in their team.
Yeah.
Kai Havertz, to me, was nowhere on my radar, regardless of what the fixtures looked like, because at his price point at 7.7 million for a forward, it's not cheap when you already have the likes of a Tony and the likes of a Haaland.
Yeah, Mitro, Tony, all these guys are cheaper. Solanke, Nketiah, all these guys are cheaper.
Shea Adams, mind you, he didn't do anything, but all these guys are cheaper, and Shea Adams also has a good run of fixtures. Also glad I didn't listen to myself and bring him in. But yeah, that's what I would say on the game week. Let's jump into the game week that's coming up. How are you setting up your team?
Team setup is going to be very easy due to the injuries. I'll start with the bench. On the bench, we're throwing Ward there. He's going up against Liverpool. No way he's touching the field. Mo's in great form. Darwin seems to be getting great chances. So hopefully he can turn that around. But I'm not going to say he's in good form, but he is getting into great chances. So Ward's on the bench. Andreas on the bench, first off the bench. Patterson, third off the bench. And as of right now, Patterson second off the bench. And then as of right now, I actually have Reece James still in the team, injured on the bench. And the reason for that is there's a sub. I'm going to make a sub elsewhere. So David De Gea in net, Trippier in the back, Cancelo hopefully gets a start. I think after the World Cup, he can step into the role now. Who did City play? They played one of their young guys, Lewis. Can't remember his name, but
the one who got
they played one of the young guys.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they played him, which was great for him to get a game, but let's get Cancelo back in there. And then I'm going to do Gabriel, who has Brighton away, and that's going to round out my defense. Then in the midfield, got to go with Miguel Almiron. I mean, he's the most informed player. What is he? One of the top scoring midfielders in the game. I'm gonna just let him rock, even though I really don't think it's sustainable. I'm telling you, as soon as Miguel doesn't score in 1-2 games, I'm moving him out. I'm just saying that from now. I'm saying as soon as the run is done, I'm getting rid of him. Rashford against Wolves, he's in there as well. Martinelli, and then Kevin De Bruyne. And then up front, Haaland, Darwin Núñez, and then I've actually already gone. I think I did this substitution the day it happened. I've just gone ahead, got rid of Wilson, and brought in Mitrovic, which is who I wanted in the first place as the placeholder. So that's the one substitution that I've made. In terms of captaincy, I don't see how I cannot put it on Haaland. It doesn't seem like anyone has figured out how to stop this guy.
No.
Scoring for fun. He has broken another record, quickest to 20 goals. Kevin Phillips did it for, was it Sunderland? I think Kevin Phillips was playing for Sunderland, and he scored 20 goals in 21 games, which is insane. Like, that is an insane record.
Yeah.
And this guy has done it in much less than that. So Haaland has the captaincy on him, and then vice captaincy is on Trippier for me. That's how I'm set up going into the game week. How about you, sir? How's the team looking?
Pretty easy for me. One substitution, Ben White in for Reece James. Reece James is last on the bench. All other players remain the same. Captaincy remains the same. Transfer is being rolled. Now, I did contemplate selling Martial immediately for Mitrovic, knowing that Mitrovic is able to play and that I'd be priced out. I am now officially priced out. Mitrovic went up in price. I cannot get Mitrovic. I don't have enough funds. But one reason why I'm holding off on Mitrovic as well is because I am aware that one more yellow and he's going to miss a game during that double game week. So that's something that's kind of making me a little hesitant to bring him in. But I also understand that in that double game week, he's going to be facing Chelsea. Now, that would be a game where I wouldn't want him to score anyway, but I don't know if I'd really care to play him in a double game week. But he could score against anybody. Looking at their run of fixtures as well, I just think that it's a little bit of a trickier run because he'd be playing against some of my defenders, Leicester, because I plan to play Ward on game week, come game week 19. We'll see how that goes. But I'm not making a transfer. I decided to not do the switch to Mitrovic, and I'm just kind of hoping that Martial can score again. He didn't really look like he was in the game.
He looked like he did.
It was a lucky
goal. Even the goal wasn't that good.
It was a lucky goal. As a matter of fact, that should have been stopped. It was a poor save.
Saved that. Yeah.
I do believe that the wet grounds played a role in the ability for Wayne Hennessy to not keep that ball out. I don't think Wayne Hennessy is that good of a goalkeeper anyway, but he should have saved that. And Martial got lucky. What I'm hoping though is that he can continue the luck, because I don't care how the points come. If you got to get lucky, get the goal, get me the points. That's all I care for. I'm upset that Man U is keeping clean sheets. I'm upset that Man U is getting points. But at the end of the day, right now, believe it or not, I have 3 Man U players in my team. And I am looking.
That's the craziest part about your team. That's the craziest part about your team.
Of all people, I have 3 Man U players in my team. I didn't think I would ever do this particular season or any season moving forward, but I liked the run of fixtures. And I just said part of the reason why I'm rolling this transfer is so that maybe if I need to, I could do a mini wild card before going into game week 19. But for now, I would just rather remain flexible so that James can come out of the team. And then let's say Fernandez doesn't do anything. To be honest with you, Fernandez is probably the one I want to take out of my team because game week 20 and 21, he has City and Arsenal. But I could also possibly just hold him for the Bournemouth game and come game week 19 and just deal with him as a solo transfer come game week 20 before the tougher City fixture against City. So I just kind of want to leave myself flexible. I do want to bring in Mitrovic. I'm not going to lie, brother. I kind of hope that Mitrovic gets a yellow card. Because if Mitrovic gets the yellow card, he's just going to make me feel better about not bringing him in. And that's what I need that's what I need right now.
I'm hoping Mitro pulls a Diego Costa. I don't know if you were I don't think you were playing fantasy at the time, but
what happened?
There was a period where Diego was on 9 cards for the season or 4 cards for the season, and everyone kept not bringing him in because he was about to get yellow. He's about to get suspended, and every game he scored, and it was like a run of like 5 or 6 games of doing this. And then when they had I think it was the City game. He played in the game, scored, and right before he walked off the pitch, got a yellow card so that he could miss the easy game. It was pure pantomime villain. Like, I'm hoping that's what Mitro comes with. So, yeah, it was a crazy. Everybody kept saying, yo, can't bring him in. You know he's about to get a yellow. You can bring him in, gets a yellow. And he just kept taking over. So, I'm hoping Mitro does one of those. Otherwise, hey, he'll have a double and he'll just play one of the games and it'll be fine. That's how I'm gonna rationalize it.
See, I think for me as well, the next couple of fixtures afterwards on paper might be tough, but we all know what Mitro's capable of. Newcastle defense is good, but Tottenham's defense is not good. And as a matter of fact, he's already scored against Tottenham this year. So even though the fixture difficulty rating is at a 3 for the 4 out of the next 5 games, he's going to be able to score. So he is somebody that I'm keeping on my radar. I want to bring him in. I hope he doesn't go up again in price. He probably will from the last time that I checked, but it is what it is. Question for you. Out of the players that neither of us have in our team, which other players do you think managers should be considering going into game week 18?
Listen, game week 18, really looking at the fixtures, the whipping boys have to continue to be targeted. And I'm looking at Nottingham Forest because Nottingham Forest, they second to last in the league. They're definitely one to target. It's either going to be someone from Nottingham who's playing against Nottingham Forest or Southampton, who is bottom of the league. But we just kind of touched on Mitrovic. But for looking at Forest, is it actually time for us to maybe give Kai Havertz a look? Is it potentially time to look at him? And I'm actually really curious to see how he does in this game. I'm watching with a little bit of invested interest because I have Darwin, and Darwin is looking like a potential drop soon if he has another 1 or 2 games like he did. So anyone who's below 9 mil is going to be in the price range. And hey, if I know that the Chelsea run that, really wanted him for was a couple of the games that just happened, but I'll take him for the double, even though City's one of the teams. I'll take him for Fulham, Crystal Palace, and see how it goes if he does well against this Forest game. So that's one player who I do have a little bit of an eye on, who I think we should continue to watch. To throw a different wrench to your question, or just to give it another spin, one who I think we might need to consider dropping, especially, if you're below the 1 million overall rank point, I really think Cancelo is one who we need to consider dropping. Looking at the ownership and what it would mean to bet against him at this point in the season, he's not been that great. He's not necessarily lived up to his price point. And he's someone who I think we should be watching these City games with an eye on, hey, could we get more value elsewhere?
Right.
What about you? What do you think? Who do you maybe have your eye on?
So I actually have my eye on the same fixture as you, Mason Mount, not only for this one fixture, but for the fixtures that are coming up. So knowing that they have a double, knowing that City and Fulham are both in that double, knowing that City is struggling right now at keeping clean sheets. As a matter of fact, they haven't kept a clean sheet in their last three, and that's against Fulham, Brentford, and Leeds. Could it possibly be related to? Listen, the goal that Leeds scored, well deserved. That was an excellent goal.
I think so.
Ederson didn't have a chance at stopping that, so I don't want to say that no keeper would have stopped that. Period. So I think this could have been their opportunity to keep a clean sheet, but knowing that they haven't kept a clean sheet in 3 makes me more tempted to go for players who are facing City. I don't care how difficult the fixture is on paper. The team is conceding. And sometimes when it comes to just sport in general, you can get into a little rut. They might be winning games still, but you can be getting into a rut by just conceding 1 goal. It don't matter if you win 5-1. The fact is you didn't keep the clean sheet. And that's what we want from Cancelo, because the attacking returns this year in comparison to last just isn't there. And that price point, you're right. We could be better off fielding what I think is the middle of the pitch, because clean sheets I still find are a little hard to come by. I'm not sure which game week, which teams are going to keep clean sheets like in previous years. And this game week in particular that is coming up, I wouldn't be surprised if there are only 3 clean sheets. And of those clean sheets, the teams that I think that have the higher chance of keeping a clean sheet come game week 18, Chelsea. I think Chelsea can keep a clean sheet. Call me crazy. I think Fulham is going to keep a clean sheet.
Fulham, that's the second one I have on my list as well.
I think Fulham is going to keep a clean sheet. And sadly, I think United is going to keep a clean sheet.
Those are I actually have 4 teams on my list.
Oh yeah,
those are 3 out of my 4. Yeah.
And who's that 4th fixture that you think is
the 4th where I think there's a clean sheet to be had? And I want to preface this with, there's a player who I do think that we also need to look at as well. I do think that there is a potential clean sheet for Liverpool versus Leicester. I do think there's a potential. I know I'm going out on a limb. There. But on my list here, I put Liverpool / Newcastle as the 2 teams. Those are just the 2 that I'd say have a good chance. But Liverpool, I highlight them because, especially if you're thinking about dropping Cancelo, maybe you want to stay in a similar price point, or you want to upgrade Reece James. You mentioned him last podcast, but Andy Robertson. I think Robertson, he's looking good. It looks like whatever was going on early season has been shaken off. Looks like the World Cup time has really given him, and he was playing himself into form a few games before the World Cup, but he's looking good. I like how he's looking. He's attacking how we normally used to over the last 2-3 seasons. He's somebody to keep an eye on.
The last 2 games, he looked good in the Carabao Cup. He looked good in the fixture that Liverpool just won. So he is somebody who's on my radar. And who knows, perhaps maybe Cancelo does become Andy down the road. But with a fixture against Everton, I'm just gonna hold on to Cancelo and hope. Do not get rid of Cancelo this game week, no matter how frustrated you may be of how he has been performing. Don't get rid of him. I know he's only brought in 2 points over the last 3 game weeks, but don't get rid of him. It's not before not before Everton, because although I didn't say it, for me, if I had to pick a 4th team to keep the clean sheet, it would have been the City game, where I do think they will finally keep a clean sheet, because Everton just doesn't have any attacking threat to really hurt them. So
I hope so.
That's how the game week is shaping up. If I have to comment on another player to watch just outside of Mason Mount, personally, and this is for people who are brave and who do want to take a chance. If you have to bring in somebody this particular game week, it might not be the worst idea to look at bringing in a Fulham defender. Southampton, I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you should, but Leno was somebody who I was reading up on last game week and said, if you brought in Leno last game week and you have him for this game week, you're probably smiling. So when I say defender, I guess I am including a goalkeeper in that sense. But from a strict defender standpoint, which one of their defenders just ended up getting a goal? I know defender goals are hard to come by. I believe it was Tim Ream, who ended up just scoring a goal. I'm not saying that's going to happen regularly, but the fixtures to come afterwards, the next one is Leicester. Leicester's not that great offensively. That's all I'm saying. It's just something to kind of consider. You can find almost any Fulham defender at around 4.5. He could be a bench fodder. They could be a bench fodder that you play down the line, but somebody who you could put into the team for this upcoming game week. Hey, next thing you know, Shea Adams comes out of nowhere and scores a goal. But that's all I'm saying. Just something a little different to open up funds for your team. If there's a bigger move you're thinking about doing next week, you already have somebody like Reece James in your team who you want to get out. You like everybody else in your team. If you're not rolling the transfer, take a gamble on a cheaper defender. Fulham might be somebody to look at for this one game week as a punt.
No, I like that. Definitely some very interesting options out there. It's been a crazy game week. These games are coming quick and fast. So be on top of your stuff. Do not be like me and don't check your team or have your team set the day before. Make sure everything is locked in early. Watch for news. We'll continue to bring you content prior to the game weeks kicking off. Of course, around this time of year, it's just tricky and difficult on everyone. Games are happening so quickly, during the holiday period, but we really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you very much for checking out the content. If you are new to the channel and you like the content that we've been putting out there, or you haven't hit that button yet, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit that like button. It definitely helps us provide more content and provide more assistance to the FPL community. So be sure to do that. You can follow us at UpYourRankFPL on Twitter, and we'll be here on the next one. Wish y'all the best of luck in the game week. Peace. Be sure to like and subscribe.